Welcome to Sharpshooting with Shuan Ellis, where the ball never stops bouncing. We're talking hoops, hustle, and everything in between, talking about the games as they happen on the court. Interesting week this week. Very interesting week this week. This past weekend, very interesting half way through the summer session here. Some teams have taken some losses that I didn't expect to take losses, and some teams have definitely ultimately won some games that I didn't expect them to win. But we'll start with the games last week. We have the Crunch All Stars versus Hip Hop and Roll. We had Crunch winning that one 66 to 59, giving Crunch their first win of the season. And this is an important game because if it came down to tiebreaks, this will actually get on a tiebreaker over Hip Hop. It's kind of an even game. I think Crunch led the majority of the way, but Hip Hop kept it close. Actually, had times where they could have took a lead, but never could quite get over the hump. It was, like I said, it was a well played game. It was one of them games, man. It was like a defensive battle, and then both teams went through stretches where they couldn't score, and then eventually, they were able to kind of pull away at the end and get their first win of the season. Both teams right now are 1-3. Like I said, if it came down to a tiebreak situation, hip hop would definitely be in a bad situation right now. But considering all that, like Crunch shot 23 for 64 from the field for 36%. And like I said, Steez, he poured in 21 points, but again, on a okay, completely abysmal shooting, but he was 8 for 23. But they needed every single one of those 21 points because obviously look at how close the game was. But with all that being said, hip hop just couldn't do enough down the stretch, man, to kind of get them over the hump, which is what they've been kind of searching for all season. Going into our next game, which was a big game, which I thought had the potential to be the game of the night. We had Squad One versus Chances. Chances taking that 104 to 95, their most impressive win of the season, and definitely they've gotten better each game. And this is definitely one of those situations where they kind of showed their contender. That they are a contender in this league, and they're not going to be a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. Just kind of telling the story of the game. They shot 48% from the field. And if you know anything about Squad One, they're capable of locking in on defense when they want to, but they don't want to play defense every possession. They just don't. It's kind of been their MO this season and in seasons in the past. But they, like I said, they could turn it on when they want to turn it on. If they want to lock you up and you only score 10 points in the fourth quarter, they can lock you up and only score 10 points in the fourth quarter. And that never happened. They got down by as much as 22 points this game. They were down big, and then to Squad One's credit, they was able to kind of get back in the game, get it down to like three at one point, 3 or 4 points at one point, and then chances, really led by D Mick. He kind of just closed the game for him. He did some things down the stretch where it got close like that again. He checked back into the game. He made a joke actually before he checked in too, like I thought I was gonna be able to sit out the fourth. Now I gotta check back in and he definitely closed out the game for them, kind of get them this 9 point win. I knew that Squad One was going to have a run in them. They always do. They never just kind of go out quietly. Very similar to light work. They just never go out quietly. But at the end of the day, again, you can't play with your food. You play with your food, eventually it catches up with you. And finally, it's a situation that did catch up with them. They're playing a good team. And I think until they take playing each game serious, they're going to run into these problems because we don't have many teams this season where you just kind of show up when you want to show up, play when you want to play, and it just eventually catches up with you. You can't continue to play at that. You guys know as competitors, in any situation. You can't just show up when you want to show up. It drives coaches absolutely crazy. And Squad One kind of just shows up when they want to show up, not necessarily just by attendance, just by activity. And then when the game gets close, that's when they really try to turn it on when they feel like they're pressed to do so. But shout out to Chances for not allowing it to happen because when Squad One did make that run, Chances stood up and they didn't allow it. So shout out to them. Now going to our next game of the night, another nice one. Maybe the best game of the night. We had Hollywood versus BNO. BNO has notoriously blown leads. And guess what? They did it again this game. Had a nice little lead, probably got up to about 17 points against Hollywood, and then they had to pull it out down the stretch, going to overtime, actually. Key shot to send it into overtime for Hollywood. And then, B&O found something down the stretch. I think Dillian leading them with 31 points, but like on an abysmal shooting night. And both teams shot bad. But neither team shot particularly good. But one thing about Hollywood, I think they shot really well from the paint. I want to say they shot 32 for 55 from the paint. So, but eventually they cooled from the outside. Where I think they only shot 4 for 20. But they were so, I mean, their game. They want to pound you on the inside, pause. And so that's their game, and that's what they really excel at. Whereas BNO, they it's a good mix of all that. And luckily for guys like Enrique or Rick, I'm gonna call him Enrique, like Rick, he do a lot of the dirty work for them. He kind of cleans up in a lot of spots where I think they obviously have weaknesses in. And Trey finally had a Trey type game. I think he had 21 points and 15 rebounds. Dylan scores, he's going to score. Like I say, he wasn't very efficient this game, but they needed every bit of his 30 plus points. So shout out to him for taking care of that. Now, uh, in our big game of the night, we had Cellulus. Okay, Cellulus with a 87 to 78 win over Light Work. Okay, huge, 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 huge win. This is them again playing in the regular season and getting the win. They've done this before. They've been like working the regular season, but I think the big game that really, really matters to them is in the postseason. And they have yet to be able to get over that hump in the postseason yet. So as much as I think this is an important game to Celulus to kind of get this win and beat like working the regular season, they know at the end of the day it's all about the postseason, and they have yet to be able to conquer them in the postseason. So we shall see. But there was a little bit of fireworks, a lot of back and forth. We know we have guys who have defected from light work that play for Cellulose, and this has happened multiple times. We got Josh, who had another monster game against light work, 18 to 14. Again, Rob, when you're not there, Josh dominates. I don't know when you guys gonna understand that light work. Josh dominates you. He used to be one of you guys. He did not get a championship with you guys, and since he's left, you guys have got a couple championships. He feels some type of way. Dominated you guys again. 18 points, 14 rebounds. Big game for Josh. Now, more than anything else, though, it was kind of some of those surrounding pieces too that really Reggie had like moments in this game too where he's posting up the smaller guards, and then so they put a bigger guard on him, and then he takes him off the dribble. Like Reggie was very, very effective this game, and like let's not mention they didn't even have Jay Drew. Now, with that being said, Lightwork didn't have Alex, so I guess they kind of balance it off. That's why it was such a great game. But again, these guys, they I can say they dominate light work in the regular season, but they win games in the regular season against light work. And I want to say they might be 0-3. Light work might be 0-3 against Cellulus in the regular season, which is oh no, they're 1-2. They're 1-2 against Cellulus in the regular season. But we know it's about the postseason. So will we see these guys again later on down the road? Probably so. But it was the matchup bringing in Trey Barber now, another defected light work guy. He really felt some type of way, and he felt good. Hey, Trey came out there and got some dunks early. Trey don't dunk too often. Yeah, I know he's 6'6", whatever, and you be like, he should. No, Trey went out there and was aggressive early, his loudest guy in the gym, got some dunks early, and he wanted to prove to them like he is the missing piece, and he's the reason why they won those championships over there on that end. So, shout out to Trey. He actually got his ring last week too, along with the rest of those guys at Lightwork. Shout out to Lightwork for getting your rings, being a two-time back-to-back champion, three-time champion, two-time back-to-back champion. So, shout out to them for that, all things they have accomplished. But saying all that to say, Cellulus wanted this game. Cellulus got this game. Take care of business. So shout out to Cellulus for doing what they do, taking care of business. Now for our player of the week, for week 4. No, week 1 we gave it to Rose with that 31 point, 11 rebound, 3 assist game. Week 2, Jay Drew had a monster game with 48 points, 12 rebounds. I think Calvin won in week 3, and then week 4 we're just gonna go to our big dog Nate in a very, very close race with I think they were actually tied for a very, very long time, percentage points wise, for who's going to win Player of the Week. But it goes to Nate, from the big man from our guys' chances. 27 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists on 69% shooting. Can't get too much more efficient than that, man. He went out there and took care of his business. So shout out to Nate. Now let's get to our picks. All right. Whew, tough week, man. Scary week, and guys will probably be mad at me about some of these picks, but hey, it is what it is, man. We got next versus Chances. Chances coming off their most impressive win of the season. We got next coming off a bye, and they actually lost before they went on that bye. So my edge goes here to chances with a 92-88 win over we got next. Again, it's not a talent thing what we got next. It's more about, a chemistry thing. So going to get that to chances there. We got light work versus squad one matchup of the season, matchup of the year, matchup of the week, most likely. And I'm gonna go ahead and go light work here, man. I don't think Squad One really knows what they're going up against. Squad One has to realize this is our back-to-back champion, and I don't know if they have garnered the respect that of a champion yet. And I don't know if Squad One really takes them serious yet. And so I think Lightweight will have a little bit more to prove this week. And I'm going to go with, especially coming off a loss. Both these teams are coming off a loss, where I think maybe they didn't take their opponents as serious as they need to be. And so again, I'm going Squad One here. I mean, I'm going light work here, 93-88 over Squad One. Hip Hop and Roll versus Hollywood. It's gonna be close, man. I'm gonna have this 89-88. Both of these teams are 1-3. This has playoff implications written all over it. This might end up being the game of the night, actually, with playoff implications written all over this game. I'm gonna go Hip Hop and Roll here, 89-88, in a great game, masterful game. One of probably the best games of the night, if not the best game of the night. Most important game, and this is a very important game because I say both these teams are 1-3, so this actually has a lot of playoff implications going forward. And then in the last game of the night, we have Crunch versus BNO. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one to BNO here. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm gonna go ahead and go Crunch. Crunch had a more impressive win last week. BNO, I wouldn't be surprised if BNO got another big lead this game and found a way to blow it. And I think until they fix that problem of smoking leads, I'm gonna definitely go with Crunch. So Crunch 90-87. I know it's a lot of points for Crunch, but I just feel like BNO's defense can be up and down too. So I'm going 90-87 here. I think this will be a fast-paced game. And yeah, I'm liking Crunch here, 90-87. All right, now so let me go ahead with our mid-season grades for everybody. I'm gonna start with the team we just talked about, Crunch, the Crunch All Stars. They nip and tuck, they fight, man. So I'm gonna give them a C plus. Um, they've had some opportunities to kind of get into that contender status. They don't necessarily have bad games per se. There's no team that's coming in and just wiping them out. So they're right there. They just got to kind of put it all together. And like I said, in the half court, they're the best team in the half court in sense of just running offense. They just need more guys to be able to put the ball in the hole. So I'm gonna go with a C plus for the Crunch All Stars. Hip Hop and Roll, I'm actually give them a C minus. They're not where they want to be at. We know what they've been in the past. They're a two-time champion here, and they're just not at that level currently. So I'm gonna just give them a C minus with the expectation that they'll get better. But the chemistry just hasn't been there. The attendance just hasn't been there. I think until they put all that together, I'm gonna definitely have to give them a C minus. All right, B and O. I'm gonna give them a C until they fix their problem. Yes, Dylan's doing what he does. Trey's starting to come around. Jalen has been a quite impact player. But until they completely put a full 14-minute, 15-minute, full quarter game together, oh, I say 11-minute quarter, sorry. I just can't see them getting the edge over anybody right now. And I'm just gonna go with a with a C for BNO. Cellulose. Definitely probably gonna go with A here. I mean, I think last season I gave them an A plus at the mid season. But I'm going with an A here. They've been really, really good, man. They've just been really, really good. They've been really effective. Uh, they're not fighting. It's not a lot of infighting. They're just playing good basketball, and they're playing against some good teams. And they'll eventually play against Squad One. They already got their win now over light work. So we'll see what happens to them down the stretch. But they beat some good teams, and they're going to be right there at the top of the pecking order as they've been for the last 3-4 seasons now. So Cellulose, I'm gonna give them an A. Squad One, I'm give them a C plus. Capable of being an A, but performing at a C plus right now is in it, and they have like some issues that they gotta get taken care of and fixed. So we'll see what happens with them. But I'm gonna give them a strong C plus. It's not the talent. We know what they are. We know what they are. And when they decide to play at a very extreme and high level, they can. So that's not the issue about their ability, but what team is showing up week to week? What team they want to be showing up week to week? Yes, we know you can turn it on. We know what you are, but right now you're not being that. And so until I see that consistency of them wanting to be a great team week to week, I'm gonna give them a C plus because I know they're capable of being a great team week to week. Kind of the same thing goes for our Knicks, our defending champion, Lightwork. They just haven't been a great team week to week. I think they got caught up in that at the very beginning of the season. I think they thought it was gonna be a cakewalk, just kind of from listening to them talk at the very beginning of the season, and they just were on that high of winning two straight championships, and they kind of came out the first couple of weeks kicking butt, and then they took a L to Hollywood. After they took the L to Hollywood, they've kind of been down to earth, and now they play Cellulus this past week, took another L, and so they have some things they have to tighten up. Like I said, there's they're functionally dysfunctional. They kind of one of the few teams that kind of could bicker and argue and bite each other head off and then still perform at a high level. So I'm definitely never going to count them out. They are who they are. But I'm gonna give them a C plus right now because as a two-time champion, I have very high expectations for you, and right now they're not meeting those expectations. Hollywood C minus had a great win to start your season off against the defending champ light work, and then since then you've kind of faltered and struggled since then. So obviously, talent's not an issue. A lot like with a lot of our teams, it's about the complexity of it's a long season and what team is showing up week to week, and they kind of struggle like many other teams. You kind of play when you want to play, show up when you want to show up, and it shows up in the standings for them. So until they kind of tighten it up and get that fixed, I'm gonna keep them at a C minus here. Um, Chances, man, slow start, picking it up, and I think the more and more games they play each other, they look better every game. What they look like week one, they look better week two, and then they looked better in week three, and now they had a bye, and then in week their fourth game they looked even better. So they're getting better week to week, and they're getting into that status now where they could possibly be contender status, and they could beat any team on any given day. So shout out to Chances. We've known they've had some good regular seasons in the past, and then kind of faltered in the playoffs. So we'll see if they can kind of keep it up and play at the level that, like I said, I expect them to play at. Last but not least, we got next. I'm gonna give them a strong D plus. Uh, they have talent. They really have talent, but it's just been a chemistry thing with them. And I think until they kind of get that chemistry fixed and kind of really get back to being the team and players I feel like they are capable of being, I'm gonna keep them where they are and keep them at D plus. They right now in a four-way tie, three-way tie with teams at 1-3. So again, their next couple games against some of these teams are going to be huge when we start talking about tiebreakers and teams putting other teams ahead of whoever. So, but that is our show for the week. Like I said, it's mid-season. A lot of teams are really pressing right now, and we're going down the stretch. And only the strong survive, and we will see who will be the mightiest at the end. Live here from an undisclosed place. I'm Shuan Ellis. I'm out of here.